Scott just made the point. Jeff Jefferson used to be a lot more secure, not just. Well, we all know by now just how horrible the air pollution is in China. It's just simply unlivable over there. It's a gray-brown cloud that sometimes looks as though every picture taken were taken in the middle of a dust storm. I've heard that up to 25% of the total air pollution in San Francisco is from the smog in China, slowly making its way and dispersing over, half the planet. Now, surprisingly, air pollution in Paris is now so bad that the government has had to enforce even odd license plate driving days to reduce that city's smog. I was looking out my window as I wrote this and admiring yet another of the deep blue skies and unlimited visibility in this paradise of clean air known as the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles. And I'm not being snarky or facetious either. Using sarcasm and ridicule to make a political point would be wrong, so very wrong, and we do not tolerate that kind of thing here on Trifecta. But the fact is, the air out there in Los Angeles is really just incredible. And I'm all here to learn you youngins that it ain't always been so. So joining me now to discuss the bigger issues of air quality are Scott Ott from the Clear Plains of Texas, and sitting in for the vacationing Steve Green up there in the toxic clouds of the Rocky Mountains, our own LA-based flight crew member, Steve Cruiser, joins us from just down the hall. Gentlemen, Steve especially, I've been here since 1988, and you've been here for a while as well. The smog that we remember from even 20 years ago, it just simply doesn't exist anymore. There's hardly a day ever where we see that kind of white cottony haze. When I first got here, it took me 4 weeks to realize that I was in a valley. I just couldn't see the mountains. I couldn't see 5 blocks. Steve, is this a victory for the socialist eco-weenies, or is there a deeper point to be made, one in which we, thankfully, turn out to be right as usual after all?
Well, I think this gets to a common misconception about conservatives. The old canard is that we don't like any regulations and we don't want the government involved. And the Democrats go right to, well, you want tainted meat and bad medicine and that's right. We want everyone to die. That's what we're all about, really. You exposed us. No, really, we want sensible regulations. We want very few regulations because we don't think there need to be that many. But once in a while, the government does come up with some things that help. And the EPA in the early days, before it turned into this monster it is now, actually helped reduce the air pollution in Los Angeles and Southern California. Michael Medved talks about this all the time. It's something functional happened. The government actually helped in a certain instance before this agency ran amok and became out of control. But no, so we want sensible regulations. Sensible regulations can help the health of the general public like this, and we're not against things like that. And for some reason, most Republican and conservative politicians have a hard time articulating that to the general public.
I have a hard time articulating everything to the general public. And by the way, that picture of LA smog we saw a minute ago would have been a crystal clear day 20 years ago. You couldn't see 5 blocks when I first got out here. 6, 7, 8 blocks is just a haze. Now, Scotty, you come from a part of the country where smart cars and Mini Coopers are useful to Texans, since you can put them in the back of the truck in case you get a flat out on the range or you need to make a quick beer and ammo run. How does this clean air miracle, and make no mistake, that's exactly what it is, here in Los Angeles, look to those of you out there in free states in America?
Well, as I mentioned on our conference call yesterday, when we had an air quality problem when I was a kid, that meant that the hog barn needed to be cleaned out. I mean, that's the kind of pollution that I was used to growing up, and it was just alien to me. I remember watching, it was a national news story that Los Angeles had another smog day, and they would show pictures, and it would be like somebody had thrown like a brown woolen blanket across the entire valley or something. So this is kind of strange to me. Now, we have very rapid development here in the north of Dallas in Texas, but we still have nice, clean air. You know what I've noticed a lot of, oddly enough? Teslas. It's a smoking hot electric car, and there are a lot of people driving Teslas around here. But there are also a lot of pickup trucks, a lot of muscle cars. The Camaro is a favorite. The Mustang is a favorite out here. So I think that there is a role for government in controlling things that involve the common good, but I think government doesn't need to micromanage everything. What's funny about the Paris situation is that these socialist Euro-weenie, tree-hugging, climate change believers cannot regulate themselves. They don't actually believe the stuff they say they believe. So the government has to tell them on odd-numbered days, if you have an odd-numbered license plate, you may drive in the city of Paris. They couldn't just come out and say, folks, our precious environment is being harmed. Could you all voluntarily do the right thing?
Nope. You know, my friend, sometimes when I get confronted with what looks like a tough question, I use my value system. See if I can find an answer. Now, I believe in freedom. That's my primary belief. And the best rule of thumb in this regard is a simple, well-worn, excellent old saw, which is namely, your freedom to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. So how do we use this with regard to things like environmental issues? Well, my freedom to build a working warp core in my garage does not allow me to dump liquid uranium fluoride into the sewer system that we all share. That swinging of my fist does affect your nose, and given the unique topography and climate of the LA Basin, I'm very happy to have vapor recovery systems on gas pumps, for example. What that does not mean is that I have a right to tell you what to drive, how much gas you can have, or how many miles you can travel. That's none of my business. So based on my freedom matrix, as long as I live in a congested area, I do have an interest in your car emitting as few toxic poisons as technologically possible and to recover them at the gas pump, but I do not have any say in how big your engine is or how many miles per gallon it gets. As long as the emissions are about as clean as any other, then that's your money and your business. That's in public. Now, if I want to own a car that emits a napalm flame 40 feet long on my own private property, that's not only my right, it's my awesome privilege. We conservatives are accused of not wanting any government or any regulations. As Steve said, that's absurd. We just want limited government and sensible regulations like airline maintenance inspections and well, I can't think of any others offhand, but if I do, I'll get right back to you. For PJTV, I'm Bill Whittle.